Wellness Rhythm Show. Find your rhythm. Live your wellness.
Y'all, let me tell you something that happened at my last checkup. My doctor said my numbers looked fine, and I walked out feeling great. Then I got home and started actually reading the lab report, and I thought, wait, fine? Fine is what you say about a mediocre sandwich. Is fine actually good enough when we're talking about how long I'm going to live well?
Right, and that word fine is doing a lot of heavy lifting in most routine health visits. Because there's a growing body of research suggesting that standard blood work misses a significant portion of what actually predicts how well we age, not just how long.
So today we are going into the science of aging biomarkers. Not the scary clinical stuff, but the actual measurable signals that researchers now believe tell a much richer story about your biological age versus your calendar age.
And this is grounded in serious work. A 2023 meta-analysis published in the journal Aging Cell synthesized findings from 51 independent studies on longevity biomarkers. The findings are genuinely surprising and honestly quite practical.
Okay, so let's get into it. What even is a biomarker in this context, David? Because that word gets thrown around a lot.
Good place to start. A biomarker is simply a measurable biological indicator, something your body produces or expresses that correlates with a health outcome. In the longevity space, we're talking about markers that predict not just lifespan, but health span, the years you live without significant disease or disability.
So it's not just, will I live to 90? It's, will I be doing things at 90? That distinction matters enormously to me as someone who wants to be at my kids' graduations and actually remember them.
Exactly. And the 51 study meta-analysis, led by Dr. Morgan Levine's broader research group at Yale, along with independent work from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging, consistently found that standard annual physicals capture maybe a third of the picture.
A third? That is wild. So what are we missing?
Right. Let's unpack that. The markers that showed the strongest correlation with healthy aging fell into roughly 5 categories. Inflammatory markers, metabolic flexibility indicators, cellular aging clocks, cardiovascular efficiency, and muscle quality. Not just muscle mass, muscle quality.
Okay, so I want to dig into each of these because I think our listeners, whether you're 35 and planning ahead or 60 and wanting to course correct, there's something here for every stage.
Brilliant point. And the good news is, most of these are either already testable or becoming increasingly accessible.
Let's start with inflammation because I feel like that word is everywhere right now, and I want to give it real context. What are we actually measuring?
The key marker here is high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, or hCRP. Unlike standard CRP, which only flags acute illness, hsCRP detects low-grade chronic inflammation. Research from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health links elevated hCRP, even in the so-called normal range, to accelerated cognitive decline and cardiovascular risk over decades.
And here's the thing, though. I actually had this tested after a friend mentioned it, and my doctor had never ordered it before. She ordered it when I asked, no problem. So, listeners, you can ask for this. It's not exotic.
That's an important point. Interleukin-6, or IL-6, is another inflammatory cytokine that showed up consistently across those 51 studies. Dr. Luigi Ferrucci at the National Institute on Aging has done decades of work showing IL-6 as one of the more reliable predictors of functional decline in people over 50.
So inflammation is basically your body's internal fire alarm going off quietly in the background. You don't feel it, but it's wearing things down.
Well put. And this connects directly to the second category, metabolic flexibility. This is where I think the research gets genuinely underappreciated.
Okay, so metabolic flexibility. I've heard this term, but I'll be honest, I had to look it up. What are we measuring here?
Metabolic flexibility is your body's ability to switch efficiently between burning carbohydrates and burning fat for fuel. It's assessed through fasting insulin levels and something called HOMA-IR, which stands for Homeostatic Model Assessment for Insulin Resistance.
And this is not the same as a standard blood sugar test, right? Because I think a lot of people assume if their glucose is fine, they're fine. There's that word again.
Correct. And this is actually where I'd push back gently on what most people are told. You can have a perfectly normal fasting glucose while your insulin is chronically elevated, working overtime to keep that glucose in range. Dr. Benjamin Bickman at Brigham Young University has published extensively on this. Elevated fasting insulin is a very early warning sign, often appearing years before glucose numbers budge.
Y'all, this is the one I wish someone had told me about 5 years ago. because metabolic dysfunction sneaks up on you, especially in the sandwich generation. When you're stressed, sleep deprived, and stress eating cold chicken nuggets at 10 p.m., asking for a friend.
Acknowledged. And stress and sleep deprivation directly worsen insulin sensitivity, which loops back into inflammation. These systems talk to each other constantly.
Okay, let's talk about the cellular aging clocks because this one genuinely blew my mind when I read about it. David, can you break down epigenetic clocks in plain English?
I'll try. Your DNA doesn't change much, but the way it's expressed, which genes are switched on or off, does change with age and lifestyle. These changes leave measurable marks called methylation patterns. Researchers have used these to build what are called epigenetic clocks.
And Dr. Steve Horvath at UCLA basically pioneered this, right? The Horvath clock?
Correct. His 2013 paper in Genome Biology identified 353 specific methylation sites that together can predict biological age with striking accuracy. Since then, newer clocks like GrimAge and PhenoAge have refined this further, and GrimAge in particular showed the strongest correlation with lifespan in the meta-analysis we're referencing.
The part that gives me hope is that these clocks are not fixed. Lifestyle actually moves them. That's not wishful thinking, that's published data.
It is. A 2021 study published in Aging, a peer-reviewed journal led by Dr. Cara Fitzgerald, showed that a combination of diet, sleep, exercise, and targeted supplementation measurably reversed biological age by over 3 years in just 8 weeks.
8 weeks. Okay, and this is a good moment to say, if you're finding this useful, please like and subscribe to the Wellness Rhythm Show. We do this every week, and your support genuinely keeps us going.
Much appreciated. Now, cardiovascular efficiency, because this is the one that I think our pre-retiree and active senior listeners will find most actionable.
Yes, and I know heart rate gets talked about a lot, but what's the marker that actually matters most here?
Heart rate variability, or HRV. It measures the variation in time between your heartbeats. Counterintuitively, more variation is better. It reflects how well your autonomic nervous system, the part that governs automatic body functions, is adapting to demands.
And this one you can actually track at home now, right? It's in most fitness wearables.
It is, though I'd note that consumer devices measure it differently than clinical tools. So treat it as a trend rather than an absolute number. Research from the HeartMath Institute and independently from the Mayo Clinic both validate HRV as a meaningful predictor of cardiovascular health and resilience.
Okay, and the last category, muscle quality, not just quantity. David, this one surprised me because I thought muscle mass was the whole story.
Right, here's what I've learned from the literature. Muscle mass matters, but muscle quality, specifically something called the echo intensity on muscle ultrasound, and more practically, grip strength, are stronger predictors of longevity outcomes.
Grip strength? I feel like my grandmother would have aced that test.
She might well have. Dr. Darrell Leong at McMaster University led a landmark study in The Lancet, tracking over 139,000 people across 17 countries. Grip strength was a better predictor of cardiovascular death than blood pressure.
Better than blood pressure. That is a statistic I want to put on a poster.
And it's a useful proxy because grip strength reflects overall neuromuscular health and systemic reserve. The practical implication is that resistance training, actual load-bearing exercise, is one of the most evidence-supported longevity interventions we have.
Here's the thing, though. I know some listeners are thinking, this all sounds great, but I can't afford a battery of specialty tests, and that's real. Not everyone has the same access.
Fair and worth naming directly. Some of these, like hsCRP and fasting insulin, are inexpensive and coverable by insurance if you ask specifically. Epigenetic testing is still several $100s out of pocket. HRV you can approximate with a consumer wearable. Grip strength, your doctor can test with a dynamometer for essentially nothing.
So there's a spectrum here from free to fancy, and even doing the accessible ones gives you so much more information than a standard panel.
Absolutely. And for our listeners who are managing care for aging parents as well as their own health, these markers are equally relevant across generations. Muscle quality and inflammatory markers are particularly actionable for people in their 60s and 70s.
Okay, if there is one thing I want every listener to walk away with today, it's this. Ask your doctor for hsCRP and fasting insulin at your next visit. 2 tests often covered that most routine panels skip. That's your starting point.
And if you want to go deeper, look into the work of Dr. Peter Attia, who synthesizes much of this research in an accessible format, and the Buck Institute's public resources. The science is solid, the action steps are real.
Y'all, aging well is not about chasing perfection. It's about having better information than fine, and now you do.
Right, go get your grip strength tested. It's free, it's slightly humbling, and apparently it will tell you more than your blood pressure. You're welcome.
This show is part of the VoxCrea.AI system. If you want a show like this for your organization without building it yourself,
Go to VoxCrea.AI and request a sample episode.